If you want to make America sane, ambitious, and patriotic again, join my movement. Let's be the change that we want to see in this great country because God knows nobody else is going to do it, so it's up to us. So join the movement. Let's do this together because together we are stronger. Now, last night, President Trump, after 13 months in office, delivered his State of the Union address. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the points that I felt like were the strongest. And first of all, I want to start and say I feel like President Trump, all things considered, is doing a pretty good job in his first year. Now, he has a lot of opposition in the House, in Senate, so getting stuff done is going to be problematic. But I feel like his initiatives, the energy he's bringing into the White House, and the ideas he's proposing are very important ideas that are very important to preserving the infrastructure of our nation and protecting the future of it. So we are at a critical juncture in time. And I think that the ideas that President Trump is bringing to the table and inspiring are really important and are really good. And I feel like his State of the Union was fantastic. He likes to speak. There's no doubt about that. And he really revels in these moments where he can speak as loquaciously as he'd like. And, yeah, you can say that he bloviates, but he is a funny guy. He injects humor into his State of the Union like nobody else ever has in the U.S. presidential history. So it's a fun time watching him address the nation, and specifically this State of the Union was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, there's some things I want to go over about it, and I want to start with the U.S. hockey team. They brought home gold against a really strong, really talented Canada team, and President Trump brought them out, and that was a great moment. Everyone starts chanting USA, and I really loved how patriotic it felt. The whole energy with the U.S. national hockey team has been fantastic. I watched it at a bar, and the energy was incredible. Everyone was singing American songs that the bar was playing and chanting USA, and the energy was electric. And we need this type of energy in our country. We need national pride. We need national pride so bad. And a lot of people on the left think national pride is a bad thing because it's been conflated with fascism. Because, sure, an attribute of fascism is nationalism. But you need nationalism to keep your country afloat. If you don't have pride in your country, if you're not patriotic, you won't make the sacrifices and the extra strives that you need to make in order to preserve the country. So you need patriotism, you need nationalism, and it was fantastic. So let's check that out.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much.
Come on.
And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
You can say what you want about President Trump, but I think the reason he is so fascinating and so polarizing is because he's got a big character and he's a funny guy, as we just saw. He's objectively a funny guy. USA, USA, USA. How can you not be excited about this? All these journalists are such squares, man. It's painful to watch. Just absolute wieners. Wieners, not winners. And we need more winners in our country, not wieners. The goal scorer, Jack Hughes. His brother Quinn next to him. Yeah, it's good energy. It's good. A moment they'll never forget. It's really special. Even the Democrats, some of them are standing up for it. How can not all of them be standing? It's really pathetic, man. It's really pathetic. I'll get more into that.
That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But
This is another thing I love about President Trump. He's not scared to call out the things he sees. Whereas, yeah, he's not the most polished politician. He's not a career politician, so he's not going to be like Obama or Clinton, where they liked to operate with a little more of a veneer, whereas President Trump, he is not scared to just call out what he sees. And some people call him a bully, and sometimes he can act a little bullyish, and that's one thing I will say I wish he would relax with. But I love him calling out the Democrats here, because how can you not stand up? These are 20-year-old kids. These are 25-year-old kids who've been working their whole life to achieve this. They represented the U.S. And just because President Trump brought them out. Now, if President Joe Biden brought them out, if President Barack Obama brought them out, they'd all be on their feet applauding. And that is the difference between politicians on the left and politicians on the right. Everybody would be standing if Barack Obama brought out the U.S. hockey team after winning gold. But notice how when President Trump does it, not all the Democrats will stand up, and that's the difference. It's a level of pettiness from the left that the right, I've never really seen them be that level of petty. So that is a huge, stark difference with the left and the right. So that was a great moment. I really enjoyed that moment. President Trump talked about a lot. I think this is the longest State of the Union address of all time. I think he broke his own record from his first term, and I got pretty tired at the end. Not tired of it, but tired. It was like 11 p.m. at that point when it ended, and I was like, oh, man. But yeah, he talked about a lot. He talked about how he's working to bring down prescription drug prices. How can you not love that? He's talking about how he wants to establish a more transparent healthcare system. How can you not love that? He wants more price transparency. He spoke about how President Obama's Affordable Care Act actually was really advantageous for the insurance companies, more so than even the people that it was supposed to be helping. And I agree with that 100%, and I think history will show that, and I think the proof is in the pudding with that. He talked about how he wants to make home ownership a lot more affordable, because a lot of big conglomerates are purchasing real estate and trying to rent it out. And you see this from the left. You see them trying to convince Americans that ownership, that's not the American dream. You want to rent. You want flexibility in your life. You want to rent. You don't want to own. Ugh, ownership? Who wants that? Who wants to actually own things in life? They try to convince Americans, and it's sad because so many Americans fall for it, man. It's really sad how many weak-minded Americans there are, and I say that with love. And I want to preface everything on this channel and everything that I ever do with, I want to come from a place of love, and I want to come from a place of kindness, and I want to come from a place of desire to make other people better in the process of making myself better, because I'm no perfect person, but I want the best for everybody. So I want to preface everything with that. And I would implore you as my viewer, and I appreciate you so much, to do the same. Always lead with kindness. Always try to be empathetic and understanding. But yeah, a lot of people just being led astray. Ownership is everything. Owning land, owning homes, owning your vehicle. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. And President Trump talked about that. I'll show you a little bit of that.
You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack.
And how disrespectful the Democrats do not conduct themselves with respect. And the way I was brought up, the way that I believe humans behave is if you respect yourself, you will always show respect to others. And Democrats, whether it is Democratic politicians or even more so, Democratic voters a lot of times, but for this instance, in the House, a lot of Democrats were on their phones. They were pretending they were sleeping. Just really embarrassing behavior from people that are supposed to be representatives of us.
Home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up into thousands single-family homes.
And some Democrats, you see some standing up and applauding this. For the most part.
And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent because homes...
Just think about that in a vacuum. The president is saying, just disconnect from any knowledge of who's not standing or who the president is. But the president is saying, I want to make home ownership more affordable for everyday Americans. And then you see people not standing and applauding for that. What are you supposed to think? What else can you deduce from that besides, oh, these are people that do not support making home ownership affordable for everyday Americans? And that's one thing I want to talk about with the Democrats. There's a Maya Angelou quote, the famous poet, that I think summarizes how Democrats behave and how we should learn from their behavior. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And this is the 10,000th time. They've shown us time and time again who they really are, but believe them. When they don't applaud for affordable housing for Americans, believe them that they do not want it for Americans. You have to believe that. And there's a moment I'm going to get to, which I think is the most poignant and important moment of this entire State of the Union, because it reveals the true colors of the Democrats more so than any other moment in this entire State of the Union. But I'll get to that shortly. I want to get to a moment that actually, you know what? Let's get to showing their true colors while I'm on that, okay? Because I think it's very important.
Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union...
Again, disrespectful on so many levels. Democrats are so disrespectful. And again, my school of thought, the way that I understand psychology and the way that I was brought up, if you do not respect yourself, you will never show respect to others. It's that simple. But when you respect yourself, when you have dignity, you'll conduct yourself with dignity. And as you can see from Democrats, I wish it wasn't like this. I wish the Democratic Party, I'm not some adversarial opponent of the Democratic Party by nature, but it's because of their behavior and because of what they represent and what they're trying to do to our nation. And if you just use your eyes, use your brain, you will understand that they are trying to tear down our great nation, our great democratic republic. They're trying to tear it down for personal gain. What else could it be for? But yeah, this bozo.
It gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Okay. So he asks the House, show the American people that you put American citizens first before illegal aliens. Very simple. Very simple. And let's see how the Democrats react to this. Not a single one standing. Not a single one standing. Can I just say, we're going to miss those mannerisms. Love him or hate him. We're all going to miss those mannerisms, those little facial expressions. The Democratic politicians, the Democratic voters will pretend that he is Hitler, that he is the most evil man, he's Stalin, blah, blah, blah. But we will all miss these facial expressions. We will all miss just the hilarity of Donald Trump. He's a funny guy, and that's why he's the most famous person on the planet. And he gives them plenty of time to change their mind about what they do. And nothing. And again, let me remind you of the quote. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. They do not put American citizens first. And this is just a visual representation of that. But if you pay attention, if you actually pay attention and examine the policies, the behavior, the rhetoric, this behavior, this visual representation supports everything. They do not put American citizens
Isn't
first.
it a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals.
And, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're all familiar with her, Ilhan Omar, a woman that moved here from Somalia and gained fortune, fame, and a political career. Yet she will never, ever display patriotism. She will never, ever be grateful. It's always complaining. And she knows deep down, they all do, they all appreciate what America's granted them. But because of political gain, because of financial gain, they will never, ever just appreciate the country out loud to the public, because then they're agreeing with Trump. And if you agree with Trump, you're not part of the Democratic programming, because there is an unspoken law within the Democratic Party. You cannot show even a sliver of support for Donald Trump. If you do, you are a traitor. Your career is going to go downward. We see how they reacted to John Fetterman. He showed slight support for Donald Trump, and now he's an outcast. They do not care. Whoever's pulling the strings behind the scenes of the DNC, they only care about making sure they tear Donald Trump down as much as they can and it's all for financial and political gain. It's that simple. So we have Ilhan Omar yelling, not conducting herself with the decorum you would hope a representative would conduct themselves with, but a representative of Minnesota, and we see how people in Minnesota conduct themselves, not respectfully at all. So, yeah. And then next to her, almost a worse example of being ungrateful for what this country has given you. We have Rashida Tlaib, who moved here from Palestine and has had a fruitful political career. I'm sure she's amassed wealth through her political career. And you can't see it because this gentleman is blocking it, but she's wearing a pin that says FUCK ICE. That's how you conduct yourself. Again, let me go back to what I said before. When people respect themselves, they show respect to others and they conduct themselves respectfully. And wearing a pin that says FUCK ICE, a official segment of our nation, saying FUCK them just for political reasons. I mean, obviously we need to make sure that people don't come here illegally, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, this is who we're dealing with in our government. And may I remind you, if you don't know much about Miss Tlaib, she is the oldest of 14. So clearly her father did not believe in pull-out game week, as my younger peers may say. Yeah. Anyway.
Act serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
And let's make it clear. ICE is targeting criminals. They're going to, of course, be removing illegal immigrants that haven't committed a crime. But the crime they have committed, so let me rephrase that, they have committed a crime, which is coming into this country illegally. So that is a crime. They are breaking the law, and ICE is upholding the law. Immigration and customs enforcement, they are enforcing our immigration laws. This is not rocket science. Do not let them convince you that it's inhumane. We need to vet people who come into our country. Point blank, period. Because if we vet everyone that comes to our country, the likelihood of an immigrant committing a crime is reduced substantially. And somewhere in the State of the Union, I couldn't quite find the moment, but Trump, he verbally says, he clearly states, we are not against immigration. We are against illegal immigration. And the left constantly, intentionally conflates this. They don't ever say the word illegal. They say just immigration because they try to paint the right as being racist and xenophobic and just not wanting any immigrants to come in. That's not the case. We want to vet the people coming into our country to make sure that they are quality people who are going to be contributing to our society. This is not rocket science. I think it's very ironic that the same people that say they don't want borders are people that lock their door at night. If you don't want borders, leave your door wide open at night. I know they won't because all their cats will run out, but go ahead. Just for argument's sake, leave your door unlocked. Why won't you? Well, it's because they understand and they know that you need some sort of border in this world. You need some sort of barrier to prevent bad things from happening. And a border is just a version for a country of a wall. The same way in your home, you have the four walls And you have the door that you close and you lock at night because you don't want anyone to come in that you haven't invited. Same way with a country. This is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. This is very simple. But just for political reasons, people pretend that they don't understand this very simple premise. And let me show you why it's so important we vet. So we go to 108. And this is a painful moment because you're seeing a mother who's grieving.
We love religion.
It's painful. But I do want to say, I love this about Trump's addresses. He gives people who have suffered by poor policy, he gives them attention, he gives them a spotlight, and he gives them a moment to be appreciated so they don't feel like their tragedy is going unnoticed. And I love that about Trump. So we see
bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Surutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer...
The smug face, man. You see a grin, like you can see about a mother whose daughter was murdered.
3-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget there were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America. Came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretsky, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
So, yeah, I think we're all familiar with the case of Irina Zarutska. She was taking the train home after working a shift at a pizza parlor in Charlotte, North Carolina, and minding her own business. She was stabbed brutally in the neck by a man who had been arrested 14 times, DeCarlos Brown. And after he had slain her in cold blood, unprovoked, unsolicited, he paraded through the train car, and you can audibly hear him proclaiming, "I got that white bitch." Clearly a race-motivated murder. But it goes against the agenda of the media outlets. It goes against the agenda of the ultra-wealthy George Soroses in our nation who are funding so many of these corrupt, destructive programs. And nothing. Now, I want you to imagine for 1 second that the roles were reversed. It was a white man who murdered a black woman on a train and walked through the train after saying, "I got that black bitch, I got that black bitch." Cities would be burning down because what we saw with George Floyd, I mean, imagine how bad the optics are of a woman who was minding her own business. George Floyd was high and drunk and using counterfeit money. All that aside, this woman was minding her own business, taking public transportation, and was murdered because of her appearance. Yeah, it's pretty sickening. It's really as sickening as it gets. It's terrible, and people are fed up. We don't want to walk amongst these types of people. We need insane asylums. We need insane asylums. A bit of a tongue twister there. We need them to be brought back because we don't want to walk amongst just to look like we're virtue signaling. We don't want to walk amongst criminals. We don't care what color they are. We don't care what gender they are. If you are a violent person and have shown that, we want you behind bars. If you're going to use my tax money for things that I'm not giving a say in, the one thing I do want you to use it for is to remove violent people from this society. And I think we can all agree with that. And you have leftist freaks who pretend that they don't understand that simple concept. Let me tell you about the judge, Teresa Stokes, who let him out without cash bail. The blood is on her hands. Yeah, she's a JD. She's a Juris Doctor. She doesn't have her attorney degree. She's not a attorney of the law. And I think we need to revamp how we select judges, because if you're not an attorney, if you do not understand the law inside and out, I don't think you should be able to be a judge. I think there's more room for corruption, and the blood is on Teresa Stokes' hands. She allowed this man who had been arrested 14 times to walk out and back into society and do this. It's disgusting. It is as bad as it gets. I don't want my daughter, my sister, my mother to live in a country where they can't take a train without the risk of getting stabbed in the neck because of their appearance. It is as appalling as it gets. But that's enough of that. Like, we can move on from that. I want to talk about another instance of why it's so important we vet the people that come into our country. Let's see here.
Was supposed to perform in her town named Lisbeth. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Lisbeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Lisbeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much.
I don't understand how this is so complicated. If every single illegal immigrant was removed from our country, no more murders, sexual assaults committed by illegal immigrants will take place. It's that simple. Leftists love to clap back with the argument that there's citizens that commit sexual assault, murder, and that's true. But if we can prevent any murders or sexual assaults, you have to be a psychopath to not want to reduce the amount. Unfortunately, we can't predict who's going to do it, but if we remove every illegal immigrant, well, then we at least know that no illegal immigrants will commit sexual assault or murder. And it's that simple. This is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. I know that's my catchphrase, but when it comes to leftists, I can't believe I have to say it so often. This is not complicated stuff. It's unfortunate because a lot of people want to come here and make a better life, but you need to do it the right way. We are actually, comparatively to every other country in the world, we are pretty generous with how we allow people to immigrate to our country. There's no excuse to not come here legally. You need to come here legally, and it's that simple. Opposing ICE, you are against U.S. citizens if you oppose ICE. And this is a Spanish woman. Jacqueline Medina, the mother of Elizabeth Medina. She's a Spanish woman. This isn't about race. This isn't about ethnicity, the way that the left always makes it. This is about safety for people that live in this country legally. Oh, man. Anyway. There's a moment that he gets the Democrats to stand up and applaud, which is impressive, but they have to do it to preserve their own image. And it's when he's talking about getting rid of any inside information profiteering from government officials.
To a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these oft-forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year, as we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market. Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
And there we go, the first time of the night that pretty much every Democrat stands up and applauds because they have to. Because they are the most guilty politicians in this country of profiteering from inside knowledge. Famously Nancy Pelosi, who Trump has a hilarious moment right here where he calls her out. But Elizabeth Warren, Ilhan Omar magically is just rich now. Come on, man. It's inside information, profiteering, getting rich off of knowing how markets are changing, laws that will be enacted. It's sickening. And it's so nice to see a president actually trying to stomp this out instead of trying to profit off himself. I can't believe how hard this is for people to understand. He doesn't have to be doing this, but he's doing it. He's doing a lot of great things that you'll never hear about because 9 out of 10 media outlets are corrupt and are so partisan in the left direction that you can't trust a single thing they say because everything is skewed to constantly be antagonistic towards the president.
They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up as she was here? Got it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
Yeah, and then he also, shortly after this, he talks about all the fraud that's been taking place, particularly in Minnesota, but in every single nation, especially in every single state, especially Democratic states, California, New Jersey, all of these states, fraud is happening at levels that it's hard to really imagine, but an estimated $20 billion roughly in taxpayer money stolen by immigrants in Minnesota. It's disturbing, and he talks about it. Of course, Ilhan Omar has words about that because I'm sure she's profited immensely from the fraud. But
we'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these...
And this is the thing about the left that everybody hates. Everybody hates the virtue signaling. You can see here, I don't know this representative's name, but you can see her
and lawlessness are the
looking at
norm,
Ilhan
not the
Omar.
exception. importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders.
Oh no, we're gonna stop fraud? What an evil man. How dare he say that fraud is happening when it really is and he wants to stop it. It's insane. The Democrats are the enemy of the American citizen. Point blank period. They are the enemy of the American citizen. For the most part, every single Democratic politician is so far corrupt and gone that it is scary. There's two more moments I really want to talk about. At the end of his State of the Union, he awards 2 Congressional Medal of Honors, one for a pilot in the Venezuela operation, this gentleman, and then we see him award this absolute stud, a man that served in World War II, a man that served in the Korean War, and a man that served in the Vietnam War. Mr. Royce Williams, we see get awarded at 100 years
Heroic
old.
American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions.
And it's just nice. We see the Congressional Medal of Honor being placed around his neck by the First Lady. And it's just beautiful. It's just a moment that a lot of soldiers deserve to get, but not all of them do. And it's just nice to see at least some getting their moment, to be appreciated for the sacrifices that it takes to keep a nation safe. And the Democrats are standing up for this at least because they know, they understand the sacrifice that it takes to get to this point. What's crazy is they didn't applaud for a lot of the victims that we saw tonight, or last night, I should say. They didn't applaud for that because it teeters too close to the talking points that the left prides himself on, immigration. They didn't applaud for the mother, Jacqueline Medina, that had her daughter, her 16-year-old daughter, murdered, 25 times stabbed, a 16-year-old girl. A mother had to find that. Didn't applaud for that. Maybe some, but not all of them. It's sickening stuff, man. It is just sickening stuff. But at least they're applauding for this. This man gets his flowers. And then we see at the end President Trump deliver a retrospect on where we're at, how far we've come in this short amount of time. And it's a nice moment, so I want to watch some of that.
History. 2 of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes.
So, yeah, he says some nice words after that, but I think it's a poignant moment of reminding us how young of a nation we really are. Only 1 lifetime separating Royce Williams, and there's another 99-year-old gentleman who was honored as well. Only 1 lifetime separating them and Thomas Jefferson, an architect of our nation. And it's fascinating stuff. It's incredible stuff. And I think Trump's done a pretty good job his first year. The main critique I have is I would like to see him pull back. And this is a controversial thing. Even people on the right can't agree on this, but me personally, this is just my personal opinion, and I don't mean any hostility or venom. When I say this, I would like to see him kind of pull back on his commitment to Israel. I don't want to be dragged into any proxy wars, so that scares me for sure. But I think he's done a pretty good job his first year, and I'm excited to see what the next 3 years will bring. And it's so important we keep fighting for what we believe in, the preservation of this nation. Always arm yourself with knowledge, because knowledge is the best weapon. Always conduct yourself with respect. Always be kind. Always be polite. Always be patient. Never lose your cool when you're debating people who disagree with you. You will lose if you lose your cool. Stay calm, stay collected, stay knowledgeable, and that's how you sway people to agree with our vision of this nation. And that's all I got for you. Appreciate your view. Subscribe. Let's do this together. And until next time.